So we finally made it. It's the end of my Star Wars kind of like reviewing series, and it's the end of the Skywalker Saga. So here we go. And what's good? It's Boy Dude Reviews, and today we are gonna review Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, Episode 9, a 2019 American epic space opera film produced, co-written, and directed by J.J. Abrams. It acts as the third installment of the sequel trilogy following Force Awakens and Last Jedi, and concludes the 9-part saga, the Skywalker Saga. It was produced by Lucasfilms and Abrams production company Balderrama Productions and was distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Picture. The film's assembled cast includes Carrie Fisher, Mark Hamill, Adam Driver, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Anthony Daniels, Naomi Aki, Domhnall Gleeson, Richard E. Grant, Lupita Nyong'o, Kerry Russell, Joanna Sutarmono, Kerry Marie Tran, Ian McDermott, and Billy D. Williams. And this is going to be a spoiler-free review, so don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it. I'll do a separate video telling my kind of spoilery stuff. And yeah, what's this film all about? Well, it follows Rey, Finn, and Poe Dameron, set, I'm guessing, a year after The Last Jedi, as they set out to lead the Resistance final stand against Kylo Ren and the First Order, who find themselves are now aided by the return of a sinister villain. And after the new trilogy was announced following Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm in 2012, it was originally reported that The Last Jedi director Rian Johnson would write the script for Episode 9. In August 2015, Colin Trevorrow was hired to direct the film, while constant collaborator Derek Connolly would co-write a new script. Both would eventually receive story treatment with Abrams and Chris Terrio. In September 2017, Terrio left the project following creative differences with producer Kathleen Kennedy, and a few days later it was announced that J.J. Abrams had been hired to return, and principal photography began in August 2018 at Pinewood Studios in England and wrapped up in February 2019, and the completion was done by November 24, 2019, and it had a world premiere in LA on December 16, 2019, and was theatrically released in the US on December 20th, 2019. And so far, it has received mixed reviews from critics, with some praising the special effects, musical score, and the celebration of the entire saga, while others considered the plot unimaginative, derivative, and rushed. Now, what do I think about this film? Well, personally, it ain't bad. It's not bad, but it's not very good at the same time. Let's talk about the pros. What this film does well is the interactions with Rey and Kylo Ren. Their connection becomes more deeper and it's very rich. And I'm loving those kind of force shots where, like in The Last Jedi, where they're using the force to see each other, but they don't know where the other person is. It's really interesting. They really dive deep into this film in terms of the force. Carrie Fisher is always a blessing, and I never noticed this, but until today I realized that they used additional scenes from like the previous two films with Leia in, I think, and they had to rewrite everything around her. So those scenes with Leia in wasn't originally filmed because sadly Carrie Fisher died, and I think they had a bigger plan with Leia, but what can you do? And what they did, I have to admit, was pretty damn amazing, Like, it was really great. I do also like Rey and Poe's kind of like off-on banter and like their kind of arguments every now and then. It's the first time Rey and Poe are actually properly interacting, because they've never interacted in the previous two films until the very end, which I think was really cool and interesting, And it's kind of cool seeing Rey, Poe, Finn, or like they're like the new Three Musketeers. They're like the new Luke, Han, and Leia. They're very different to them, and I feel like they all work really well and they work off one another. I also think it's definitely the best looking Star Wars film since The Force Awakens, because personally, Rogue One, okay, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, Last Jedi did have some interesting shots, but I feel like I feel like some color is being put back into this film that was lost after Force Awakens, you know. I feel like it looks a bit better. It's starting to have a bit more of an identity, which I really liked, and I thought it was really cool, you know. It kind of reminded me, some of the shots did kind of have Return of the Jedi slash Empire Strikes Back look, like just certain shots they did with the camera and just certain things, which was really cool and groovy. Um, Another thing I really liked is John Williams' soundtrack is always going to be great, you know, but seeing this is like the end, he mixes old themes from the past movies into this film, like certain things happen, and I feel like it really did work. Obviously, it worked, it's part of the same universe. Um, some of the battles were pretty good, and I'm not gonna lie, this is probably one of the most, like, some of the battles I have to admit got kind of violent, and there was more blood in like this film than any other Star Wars film. And yeah, it does get a bit, whoa, it gets a bit dark, I will say. Like what they do, certain characters are put in some situations where you're like, oh my gosh, are they really gone? And yeah, it's really different. It's different and not different at the same time. We'll get to that later. But my gosh, like the final battle scenes were just breathtaking and amazing, you know. I'll talk more about my spoiler review, but my gosh, dude, I feel like you need to watch this on the biggest screen possible because it's a real treat. Oh yeah, C-3PO, for me personally, he gets a really big character arc in this film. Like, I'm not gonna say what it is, but watch out for him. He becomes interesting. Okay, the main villain of this film, I don't know how much I want to say, but I was happy that this person was the villain, you know. It kind of made sense when you watched all the movies together that this person is the villain, you know. How, yeah. Also, another thing that I like is that we finally get answers, you know. The answers that all the Star Wars fans want is in this film, and it's unexpected and predictable at the same time. That will all be my spoiler review. And yeah, all the answers are there, and it surprised me, but at the same time I wasn't that shocked. Let's go to my mixed aspects of the film, and it's kind of hard to talk about what I was mixed upon, but there are certain scenes where they bring back old characters and they don't really do much. Like obviously Lando, he's there, he's cool, but he doesn't really have an impact in this film as much as I thought he would. He's just kind of there, standing there, looking all suave, being himself, but he's just there for a bit and he's gone. And I kind of wanted him to be in the film a little bit more, but disappointed by that. They also use CGI to resurrect certain characters of the past, and I thought it was interesting and it surprised me. I was like, whoa, that is interesting. But at the same time, I was knowing the circumstances and the situation, it's a bit awkward seeing it, you know. And I was fine with it, but at the same time I wasn't. But you will understand that. I also, let's go to my negatives. This film is a bit of a mess, and that is what every critics are saying, that I feel like the story is so rushed. I'm not going to say much, but certain plot elements that should have been revealed in the Last Jedi film were saved for this film, and it was just like, the moment you read the opening scroll for this film, you're like, oh no, this is going to be rushed, and it is rushed right out of the bat. It's like, this happens, backstory, this is where this character's been all this time, this is what they're planning, this has happened to this character, there, and it's like, whoa, calm down, you know. It's very fast, it's very rushy, it's trying to get somewhere fast. It feels like how Game of Thrones season 8 felt, you know, rushing all these plot elements. That is how this film feels like. It feels like Game of Thrones season 8, where the ideas are good and interesting and unexpected, but the execution is so rushed and so jammed that you feel full very quickly. It feels very bloated, you know. It's like when you have an interesting meal, it looks delicious and tasty, but it's being forced down your gut to the point where your stomach is so bloated, and you're like, oh no, 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 this is not good. You want to slowly digest it, and they didn't. If they did in the previous films, I think this film would have been more satisfying and more of a bigger achievement, like Endgame in a way. This would have been Endgame for me, but sadly it wasn't. And personally, I'm mixed on this film. I feel like I'm disappointed, but certain character arcs came to an end which I was satisfied on, and certain things happened that I just wasn't, and it left a bad taste in my mouth because it was so rushed and it didn't have the time to slowly, you know, set things up. And it made me realize that what were Disney, Kathleen Kennedy, and everyone behind the scenes really thinking? Like, you watch the original trilogy, and the first film was the start, the second film was the middle, and the third film was the end. And to a certain point of view, the prequels do the same thing, you know. Starts off with all that stuff, and you have like the beginning of the Clone Wars, and then you have the final battle, and I thought that worked better, you know. Imagine having the Clone War and the final battle all shoved into one film. That would have been hectic. But this film. The first film sets everything up as the beginning, then the middle film feels like complete filler because everything in that film was completely tossed out of the bag in this one, and they do something different, and it's like, oh no. It feels like there was the thing of this main issue is that I feel like there was a missing movie. Like, there was one movie that should have been added in, and then this film should have happened, because it feels like there's a lot of things that we missed, you know. Okay, in the previous movies of like the original trilogy, just time passes and there's a lot of things that happen, but you get what's happening, you know. And in this film, it's like I don't get what's happening because they don't explain it, and it's very like, whoa, what the heck? It's like, this is happening? But when I watched it, I was very confused, and I felt, did I miss a film? But I've watched these films so many times, and no, I didn't. And I feel like it's the different directors and writers, because J.J. Abrams set all this stuff up. Like, who's Rey's parents? Like, where did that lightsaber come from and all that lot? And then Rian Johnson's like, doesn't really matter, none of it matters, let's kill the past, let's destroy it if we have to. And he does his own thing, which goes into a different direction. And then J.J. Abrams comes back and he's like, oh boy, I set all this up in Force Awakens, and Rian Johnson completely ruined it for me. Now I'm gonna have to put all this stuff that I thought about in The Force Awakens into this one film. And that's how it feels like. I feel like if J.J. Abrams continued it would have probably been better and it would have been more satisfying. But because Disney, I feel like all these films just don't add up. They all feel like different films, like different universes, because it doesn't feel right, you know. This film, it doesn't feel right. Maybe a rewatch and maybe I'd be okay with it, but in all honesty, it just doesn't feel that right, and that's a big problem. And sadly, this film, it doesn't hold up. It might hold up for some, but yeah, it's just fan fiction, this film. It feels like a fan. All these movies, and rewatching it, I feel, okay, maybe less The Last Jedi and more Force Awakens. Okay, this film, out of all of the movies that Disney have released, feels like the most fan fiction movie you've ever seen. Like, everything you want, everything you expect happens in this film. So all the fan theories that you built up online, some of it comes true, some of it doesn't, but it's a big fan fiction. It's like, it doesn't even feel like a proper movie. It just feels like a geek just made it, and that's the problem. It should have been more original. Rian Johnson made a really odd movie, but at least it was original and different, you know. Force Awakens was new and different and fresh, but it was a bit fanficky. But this film, throughout, is fan fiction. Right from the opening scroll, it's a fan fiction. And for that, I'm going to have to give this film... Sorry, it's going to have to be a 6 out of 10, and it's going to be a C+. It's great and not great at the same time. Maybe I'll give it a rewatch and re-review the film and give a new review, but so far It's a film I recommend you to see, but you will not be that impressed. Sorry, but that's how I feel. But check it out. It's a pretty fun film. But thanks for watching this review. Please like and share this video and comment down below. Tell me what's your favorite Star Wars flick. With that said, thanks for watching. As always, Boarded Reviews signing out.